time. Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by. Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome into a Hump Day edition, international edition of the JP Peterson Show here, as we are joined by what I feel is the unofficial or maybe even official Bucks historian, the great Paul Stewart from BuckPower.com from across the pond, joining us from England. And if I pushed all the buttons right, I might even be able to hear it. Are you there?
I am indeed, JP. It's great to
Perfect.
talk to you again. As I said, we've worked so many years together. Not as many years as Brian Fasullo was on the show, but I'd like to point out I don't fart as much as he does on radio.
Yes, absolutely. And hopefully the show will be much cleaner today than it was yesterday. I have a pretty good feeling.
I can't guarantee that, but I'll give it a go.
Okay. Well, if it's not, it's not. It is what it is. It's what's fun about it.
I can just claim it's British humour and get away with it.
Exactly. You can say whatever you want, especially on this show. Exactly. We're going to have a lot of fun today. We're going to do a lot of Bucks history, some top 10 lists, some bottom 10 lists, which always, when you have the Buccaneers, you always want to delve into some of that. You've got such a great knowledge of Buccaneer history. I've been around for a little bit myself. Scott Reynolds is going to join us at 10:30 from Pewter Report. He's been covering the Bucks for longer than I have, as has TJ Rives. So between the two of us, the three of us, the four of us, that's about well over 100 years of covering the Buccaneers. I don't know if that's good or bad, Paul, but it's going to be definitely a depth of knowledge many fans have never heard before.
It will be pretty good. I mean, the four of us were all together when I was over for the game against the Falcons last year. We all got together for a picture and we decided we had a century of Buccaneer knowledge. Let's say it's a good thing.
Yeah, of course, it's a good thing. Absolutely. Yeah. We'll tap into that knowledge today as we try to figure out what the heck's going on with the Buccaneers, what this rebuild is going to look like, as well as having some fun romps back into the history of this franchise. And the Lightning last night, I know you're a big Lightning fan. You watched the game last night. Brandon Hagel had a big night last night. Anthony Cirelli with another big shorthanded goal. Just seeing him out there playing was certainly a positive. That was a fun win last night, a dominating win for the Lightning, 4-1 over a very, very good Devils team that's been in first place for a lot of this year. It's a type of team that gives the Lightning a lot of trouble, but last night they fell behind, but boy, they picked it up really quickly and put together a great second period and won the game.
Yeah, for me, it's funny when you say last night. For me, it was this morning. Now, because of the time difference, I don't watch a lot of these sporting events live. I watch Bucks games live, no matter what the time is. For the Lightning, for me, I'd be sitting there at midnight, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. watching it. So for me, it was get up this morning, 7 o'clock, get some breakfast, turn my computer on, watch the game as live, because I have an NHL TV subscription. I can jump the intermissions and the commercials. So for me, it was, hey, I watched that this morning. To me, it's still really fresh in my mind. It was only a couple of hours ago.
Yeah, well, I know that for a lot of people, that's the way it is. Hockey has become such an international game now. The Lightning have a huge following in Europe, obviously from a lot of their players, or Swedish players, Russian players, etc. So you're not alone in that. And it's funny because we don't have it on. I don't have it on a Spectrum anymore, so I watch it on the Bally Sports app. How do you watch it? Is it also in the Bally app?
No, I have the NHL TV subscription, which is about equivalent to about $17, $18 a month. And it means I can watch all of those games. What I also do is on YouTube, they have 9-minute highlights of all the games. So I sometimes watch other games, highlights, like who are the Lightning playing? So I've watched the last couple of Devils games to get an idea of who's hot, who's not. So it's an international world now, JP, this is what we talked about. The world's become a smaller place. So I can watch the Bucks, I can watch the Rays, and you can watch Premier League soccer. It's just, obviously, there's a time difference.
Yeah. It is amazing how these leagues now have crossed borders. I mean, 20, 30 years ago, nobody watched Premier League soccer here in America. Nobody. And now it's one of the biggest. I'm not sure where it ranks in terms of the ratings, but it's pretty damn big here. F1 has become a huge story over here in America now, thanks to the Netflix series. I think that has gotten a lot of people into F1 racing. And we're going to talk about all these things. I want to hear about the international events that are going on over there. Maybe we'll delve into a little politics and sports that mixes over there as well. So we're going to have a lot of fun with this today. Well, let's get it rolling because let me set up the show. First of all, Scott Reynolds going to join us at 10:30. Good friend of yours from the Pewter Report. So we'll kick it around. Scott's got his battle plan for the off season yesterday. We'll talk with Brian Reed at 11:20. He is the caddy for Matt Kuchar. Now, Matt's not playing this week at the Valspar, but he's been playing, and always fun to have and Brian's caddied many, many times at Valspar, so we'll get a really good feel for what the course is like out there. Jordan Spieth talked yesterday and talked about the rough. Said it's and I played it a couple weeks ago, Paul, and it is. I mean, you could. Luckily, they'll be able to find their balls. We could hardly, without somebody right on top of it. It's almost impossible to find the ball.
I went to the Valspar a few years ago because a very good friend of ours, Rick Odioso, is the PR director. Rick was one of the early people with the Bucks who got me covering the team. So I went to the event in 2015. I think it was Spieth's first win on tour. It was Justin Thomas's first cut. So I was there inside the ropes. I thought I could probably break 85 off the back tees in those days. I don't know what I'd shoot now. I'm a few years older. I thought I could shoot mid-80s around there.
Probably not with these conditions. This rough it's brutal. I'm going to be very interested to see tomorrow how far they can advance it. I mean, on a consistent basis. I really don't know if you're going to be able to advance it more than 130 yards. These guys are unbelievable how they can, gouge balls out of the rough. I get it. But it'll be interesting to see because that stuff is not, some rough can be, tall. But you can, it doesn't really settle into the bottom and you can kind of get it out of there. This stuff, man, it goes right to the bottom and it is thick. It is not thin at all. It is very, very thick. So to get your club head through there, to get any contact on the ball, I'll be interested to see how they got it set up. And I'll also be interested to see how the players react to it. Because I don't think they play in these conditions very often, to be quite honest.
No, it's going to be interesting. There's a very nice pairing for the first two rounds. They've put three of the English players together. Justin Rose, Matt Fitzpatrick, Tommy Fleetwood. They are three of the nicest people you could ever want to meet. Anywhere, not just on the golf course, anywhere. And I think if the rough is that bad, you might hear some English swear words on the commentary. It could be worth listening to that group.
Yeah, I think they've also commissioned three beer carts to follow that gallery around with all the Brits. So they'll have to be feeding them.
Are you saying that we've got a drinking problem over here, JP?
Exactly what I'm saying. 100% what I'm saying. Yes, the mobile
pub. That's fine. Okay, I can live with that.
The mobile pubs will be on display as they follow those three around. Now, is there any of those three that might stop and imbibe on one of those? If they could have a beer, if they were allowed to drink on tour, would any of those guys grab a pint?
Tommy Fleetwood's a really good guy. He will chat away to the fans and the media. He's great to talk to. He might sit down and have a beer with you after a round. Matt's very focused. You saw him on the Netflix show. He analyzes his stats. I thought I was the only person who kept my stats to that level. He does it as well. I don't know whether I copied him or he copied me. But Justin is one of he is just the ultimate nice person to deal with. You've got a question, you've got an issue, he will help you out. And the fact he won a few weeks ago over at Pebble Beach, it's great to see him back winning again. He is a really, really lovely guy, so popular over here. And I know the American fans love him too.
Yeah, absolutely. He's always a crowd favorite. And I think because of the Netflix series, Matt Fitzpatrick will probably be a crowd favorite as well, as will Joel Damon, who's teeing off after him. Spieth and Thomas playing together as well. So they've got a nice grouping going off tomorrow morning, and then they'll go off Friday afternoon, obviously in the primetime window. So that'll be probably where most of the fans will congregate around those groups. That'll be some really, really some big names and some good. Looks like gonna have a little bit of cool weather. We had a cold front come through. I'm wearing a sweater this morning. It's like 60 degrees here, Paul. It's freezing. It's unbelievable.
You and I had this conversation last night when you showed me how nice and pleasant it was compared to here. I've got a little good Justin Thomas story for you from that Valspar event. So it was the first time he'd made a cut on the PGA Tour. And I'd been doing a feature with Retief Goosen. So I'd gone out to the par 5 11th. I'm standing down by the green. Basically, so all the people at my home club could see me inside the ropes was why I was there. Right. So Justin just happened to miss. He missed about a 6-foot birdie putt. And he comes over and he's standing next to me. And I said to him, oh, everyone's missing that part short right. And he looks at me, he goes, you could have told me that 5 minutes ago, couldn't you? And just laughs, gives me a fist pump. So he goes up onto the par 5 12th tee, hits his tee shot, looks back at me and goes, yeah, and it was brilliant. He was so down to earth. It was lovely to see a player like that having a laugh.
You know, it's funny. So sometimes you'll go to a golf tournament. I've done this many times at the Valspar, where you're sitting there. You'll sit on a certain hole for 5-10 groups, and you'll watch them come through, and you'll see these guys have the same putts, and it's funny because they all tend to read it the same way. Sometimes it's wrong, and you literally want to shout out from the crowd, "Hey, it goes left." It doesn't go to the right, but you're like, what? Should you put that in his head?
Later, Luke Donald came through, and I knew Luke's caddy. And his caddy came over to me, and I said, he knew I was media for my pass. I said, everyone is coming up short right on that putt. And he went across, and they read the putt. Luke made it, and the caddy looks at me and just goes, nice one, thank you very much. One for the Brits.
Nice. Well, there you go. There you go. That end up.
I'm just glad he made it.
I hope you got a cut of that money. You should have looked at the scores at the end and said, okay, one less, he would have made 90 grand less. I get at least 45 of that, bro. Let's go. Kick in. Let's go.
Again, Luke's one of the really nice British players. You can come across Paul Casey, who's a little bit hit or miss. Then you get Ian Poulter.
Yeah.
I had a major run-in with Ian Poulter at the Valspar, which we can get into. Believe me, what you see on
tell it now. Tell it now. Why not? Of course. Let's go.
Okay. So what it was is I've done this feature with Retief Goosen, and it's what can an amateur learn from a pro? Just how they analyse holes, how they look at shots, what can we do? So I'm coming back through the players' car park. I've been talking to Rondé Barber, who I know, and Poulter drives in. He's in one of the last groups, comes in, one of his own cars. So he knows I'm me. I said, oh, hey, Ian, no hire car this week. No, it's nice. And I said, oh, what, breakfast with the family, drive down I-4? Yeah, loving this. So he's still only just about to open his trunk, the trunk of his car, and get his stuff out. I said, Ian, can I grab 10 minutes with you after your round for a feature I'm doing? Standard question. And he looks at me and just goes, no, bleep, bleep, bleep off. I'm bleeping, getting ready for this bleeping event. Just flicks like that. And I'm like, well, okay, which is how Poulter is. He just goes hot and cold. Well, a well-known Ryder Cup player saw that happen, came over to me and goes, what was all that about? So I told him, and he shook my hand and he said, welcome to the PGA Tour. You're not a member till Poulter's had a go at you.
Yeah. What a jerk. How did you that kind of a nice transition into the Full Swing Netflix series, which we've been talking about. And Ian Poulter was featured for a while, and there were some points where it came off as, oh, he's a nice family man. He really is a good family guy. Loves his kids, spends a lot of time with his kids, with his wife, and they have beautiful homes all over the world. I thought he came off really good, but I know better. Know better.
Yeah, he will say something really good or really intelligent, and then he'll just come out with 2 or 3 really stupid comments, and you just go, okay, that's him. I mean, many years ago, he famously gave an interview where he said, if I'm playing at my best, it's just me and Tiger. Wow, he got slaughtered for it on tour. They were calling him number 2. He'd walk on the range and everyone was laughing at him. They put a space next to Tiger for him. Poulter makes his own bed. He's the one who he creates this situation for himself. Yes, he's won some big Ryder Cup matches, but to be honest, when he went to the Live Tour, and there's quite a few players were like, thank God he's gone, and there's a couple of other people they want to see go as well. We'll call him Tyrrell Hatton.
That's hilarious. That the number 2, the players on the PGA Tour are notorious for practical jokes and ribbing guys. They are ruthless. They are absolutely ruthless. So I love that part of it. Hey, let's get into a little Bucks because we just had a little breaking news. We'll do some topical stuff here on the Buccaneers and the NFC South. The Panthers are now expected to sign former Bengals tight end Hayden Hurst. So I tell you what, the Panthers, they're a team to watch right now. There's no question about that. Hayden Hurst, Von Bell is also headed to the Panthers as well. Hayden Hurst, 29 years old, 52 catches, 414 yards, 2 touchdowns with the Bengals last year. I think he was also with maybe was it the Ravens before that? Good.
Yeah.
It has been one of the really good tight ends. I don't know if he's a game changer at this point of his career, but the Panthers are doing some very interesting things. They signed Andy Dalton to a contract. They also have the first. They've also acquired the first overall pick. We don't know if they're going to keep that pick and who they're going to take. There's been some scuttlebutt that they'll take C.J. Stroud. So it's a very interesting NFC South. We knew it would change now. So who are the quarterbacks in this division now? It may be C.J. Stroud starting for the Panthers. It may be Andy Dalton at first. You don't know. And now obviously you've got Derek Carr in New Orleans going to be starting there. Desmond Ridder in Atlanta, and they just signed Taylor Heineke, somebody that maybe the Bucs were looking at as a possible backup. So, and a guy that's given the Bucs fits, almost beat him in the playoff game and beat him last year. So, and here the Bucs sit with one quarterback, Kyle Trask. Now, obviously, the draft is coming up. I think they're going to draft a quarterback. They've not only interviewed Hendon Hooker at the combine, but they're using one of their 30 official visits to One Buck Place for Hendon Hooker as well. So they're telling the public that they're interested in him, and I think they very much are, and I think they should be, quite frankly. And then I think Baker Mayfield's name has been bantied about, so Baker has not signed anywhere yet. So it kind of looks like Baker slotting in to Tampa Bay. So this year we could have, starting in week 1 in the NFC South, Derek Carr, Andy Dalton, Baker Mayfield, and Desmond Ridder or Taylor Heineke. That's I don't know if anybody had that on their board anytime in the past 6 months, but here we go.
Yeah, it's not quite Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, and Drew Brees, is it?
No, not at all. It just kind of occurred to me as well as I said that. I was like, wow, and it also very well could be, C.J. Stroud, Hendon Hooker, and and maybe the Falcons draft somebody. I would doubt it since they drafted Desmond Ridder, but Desmond Ridder I thought played pretty well. I don't know what kind of quarterback he's going to be, depending on who he's surrounded with up there in Atlanta. But it looks like the Falcons are building something there. I thought they should have beat the Bucs both games last year, quite frankly. So I think this NFC South, as we knew it would, is starting to get a little better than we think, but I would agree with you. That's not murderer's row at quarterback. Not yet.
No, I'm going to be honest. We're going to get into how we think the Bucs are going to progress as we go through the show. And I'm going to be really honest. My view for what they should do for 2023 is pay the credit card bill this year. Take the salary cap hit this year. I have no problem at all with what they did in 2021, 22. There's a Super Bowl. There's 3 division titles. They went for it. Good. You only have a limited window. Yes, it was closing last year, but they took the chance. No problem. Every NFL team, imagine fans of Detroit or Cleveland, they would bite your hand off for a Super Bowl and playoff appearances.
Of course.
But at the end of the day, the credit card bill becomes due. And you don't want to you look at the people who get into financial trouble in their own lives, it's because they keep taking up more and more credit. Sorry, this is the year when you go, look, we might not be very good this year. We're doing a reset. Let's start again. We've got enough pieces to still build around, but don't mortgage. Don't do it again. Don't try and kick the can further down the road. Take the hit this year and accept how it goes.
Well, I'd have to correct you there, Paul. That's how it normally works. But here in the States now, you can have your own bank, spend millions of dollars on stupid stuff, and then when your bank fails, the federal government just comes in and pays you back. So this credit card bill thing you're talking about, I don't know what you're talking about. We work it differently in this country. The elites get when the elites spend money on stupid stuff, and lose it all. We just give them the elites just pay them back with that money too. So it's a really different style of capitalism we have over here. So I'll have to explain it to you one day. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, there's a rabbit hole there that we can go down that we never get out from. So yeah, but no, I do think we've got to take the cap hit this year. Now I think back to 2009 after Gruden left. The Bucs did a reset for 2009 because the roster had got really old and slow, and they had to do something. Raheem Morris was coming in, and it was a decision made. Look, we're having 2009 as a rebuild year. Raheem can learn on the job, which he did for 2010. Josh Freeman got to start. He learned, and 2010 was a 10-6 season as a result. So sometimes You have to take the reset. There is no divine right to be successful. I think the last few years, because of the success of the Bucks and the Rays and the Lightning, Tampa sports fans have got really spoiled and they don't know how to accept failure. And they're going to have to maybe this year for the Bucks.
Yeah, I agree with it. Now, I know you're the unofficial or official historian of the Buccaneers, but I think you got that history a little bit wrong there. Here's what happened. John Gruden said, I'm going to go buy a bunch of free agents. And the Glazers said, no, you're not. We're buying Manchester United. And there's no cap floor anymore for the next 3 years. So we're going to spend about $65-70 million on payroll while we use the rest of that money to buy Manchester United. I hope you don't mind. To which John Gruden said, frankly, with an F, no, thank you. So he was gone, and Raheem was the lowest priced option, and a very enthusiastic young man. So he came in. They used that money to buy Man United, and the rest is history. And that seems to have worked out very well for them financially. I don't know how well it's worked out for them personally, because it's been nothing but a headache for them. But they're getting ready to sell Man United. And what did they buy it for? 1.6, and they're going to sell it for what, 6 or 7 billion?
Yes. Now the thing is, it's the problem with the whole Manchester United situation was it was the fact it wasn't the fact it was the Glazer family. It was the fact that anybody was buying that team, because the fans had this attitude: it's our team, it's our club. They hadn't realised it's a multi-million-dollar business. And you need business people and money to run it. So it could have been anybody coming in. It could have been a Swedish chemist. It could have been a Middle East family, an Australian sheep farmer. It was the fact that it was somebody not from Manchester buying the team meant they became the focus of all the vitriol. And also there were quite a few people who had a financial interest in a protest continuing by selling the scarves and the anti-Glazer banners. They wanted the protest to continue, and they were quite happy to keep doing it. So it was very unfair on them. But as I said, Joel and Brian, we've known them for a long time. They have actually done a really good job with Manchester United. They've increased the revenue streams massively. Some of the other Premier League teams and European sides have done the same. And it's just simply the fact they were the wrong people because they weren't from Manchester. It was not them personally. They were just the focus of attention.
Yeah. And and I think when they do sell it, that just gives them more resources to put into the Buccaneers. So if you're a Buccaneer fan, it's a wonderful time, and they'll have more time to focus on the Bucks as well. So whether that's good or not, I don't know. But listen, I think the Glazers have been fantastic owners. Once they got past the Man United thing, that was a bad stretch for the team, and it wasn't good for Bucks fans. But since they got past that, these past 10 years, since Brian Ford's been running it, especially for them, they've become so much more active in the community. They've done amazing things with the local, with flag football and the Glazer Vision and everything else they've done here. They've really stepped up their philanthropy here in Tampa Bay. And as far as the resources they gave to Bruce Arians, my God, would they have 47,000 coaches? I mean, they paid everything that Bruce Arians asked for, and they got a Super Bowl. So, they did what they had to do. So if you're a Buck fan, you should have zero issues with ownership and what they've been able to do. And for the most part, they stay out of the way. I mean, look at Jerry Jones. Look at some of these other knucklehead owners, Irsay, and all these other. I mean, Jerry Jones is a perfect example. They haven't won squat since 1995, and it's because of Jerry Jones. He's a meddler. He's an owner, and he doesn't know how to run a football team. He's great theater. The Cowboys are great. They're great fodder, no question about it. But they don't know how to run a football team, even though they did bounce us out of the playoffs. I get it, but they haven't done squat since '95. So. To me, kudos to the Glazers of what they've been able to do lately. I've got zero issues with them. I think they've been great owners.
No, I was really grateful to them. When I was over there in September, Brian and Joel and Brian Ford arranged for both the trophies to be taken out of the cases. So I got my picture taken. Myself and Scott Bradford had our pictures taken with both trophies. So that was a really special moment, because although I was in San Diego for the win over the Raiders, the game against Kansas City was during the COVID situation.
Yeah.
We weren't allowed to fly, so I couldn't even get the Bucks even had a ticket for me, but I couldn't get to the stadium to use it. So having sat in Qualcomm Stadium for the first Super Bowl, I watched the second one in the rented apartment I was renting on my own, and it just didn't feel real. So to finally get to hold both trophies, it became real again for me.
Oh, no question about it. All right, some other news out there for the Buccaneers, as we talked about yesterday. Shaq Mason gets traded to the Texans. They pick up about 30, 40 spots in the draft. So, it was a cap casualty. I'd like to have Shaq Mason around, but I think we've got some good young offensive linemen now with Ryan Jensen back and Hainsey and Gedeke. They'll probably draft another offensive lineman as well, which I think they should. Tristan Wirfs moving to the left side. I don't have any problem with it. I think the offensive line is going to be good, especially with this new offense that they're going to be running. And and I'm starting to pencil in right now, Paul, Baker Mayfield, because he has not signed with anybody else. Jacoby Brissett is still out there as well. I see you shaking your head. You're not a big you're not a big Baker Mayfield guy right now.
No, I don't want any part of him in Tampa. What I want to see is Kyle Trask given the chance and the likes of a Blaine Gabbert or a Jacoby Brissett as the number 2 there if it doesn't work. That is the way I want to see the Bucks go. Baker Mayfield has failed twice. And he's too much of a, I don't want to use the word knuckleheads. That's not right. There's stuff buzzing around him that he's not a focused NFL quarterback. We've had enough of those in Tampa. I want no part of that. Please, no thank you. Blaine Gabbert or Jacoby Brissett, but Kyle Trask behind center.
Yeah, it's funny because Blaine Gabbert's name hasn't been mentioned at all. It really hasn't. And, obviously this is a new offense, so it's not like he's going to have any advantage because he's been here. Now, he has advantage because he's been here because he knows the receivers. He's worked with Chris Godwin. He's worked with Mike Evans. I mean, not necessarily a lot in the regular season, but he's been around in practices. That's worth something. That's worth something to me. And obviously, he's a lot older than Baker Mayfield, doesn't have the upside of Baker Mayfield. And look, we've seen guys like Baker Mayfield reinvented, right, in their careers. We've seen it with Drew Brees when he went to New Orleans. We saw it with just this past year with Geno Smith. So guys, that were in bad situations come to better situations. They become better quarterbacks. Now, is Baker Mayfield one of those guys? I don't know. I think he has upside. I think he can move around. He can run. He can do all the things in the Dave Canales system that Dave kind of outlined in the press conference that day. So I think he would be a good fit from an X's and O's standpoint. I think he's been humbled. I don't think he's the bombastic jerk that maybe some people thought he was when he came in. I think he's a competitor. He played with some really bad injuries in Cleveland. That impressed me. I think he plays hard. I think he wants to win. Sometimes, maybe to the level too much. You got to be a little bit smarter. Kind of that Jameis Winston. We know you want to win. You'll run through the wall. Sometimes that's just not the smartest thing to do, young man. So don't do that. So I think there's a little bit of that in Baker Mayfield. I'm interested to see if he's the guy, what he can bring to the table. I really am.
It's funny when you mentioned Drew Brees. I used to call games on British television, and I was calling a game in 2002, Drew's second season, and he was being outplayed, all over the place for San Diego. And I said on air, I don't think Drew Brees will ever be successful in the NFL. That one aged really well, didn't it?
You never know. Because guys get in bad situations or guys, and Drew Brees learned how to play quarterback at a different level. And he learned how to outwork people. And, post his shoulder surgery, he came back to be, obviously a Hall of Famer, one of the best to ever do it. So I tend not to write off certain guys. I think Baker Mayfield listen, I'm not here stumping for Baker Mayfield at all. I would like the Bucs to draft Hendon Hooker and develop him. But they've got Kyle Trask here, and it depends if the draft falls their way. If Hendon Hooker falls to them in the second or third, I would take him. But I also would like to see what Kyle Trask can do as well. So, all right,
we need to give a chance to the most experienced, longest-serving Buccaneer quarterback ever, Ryan Griffin. He's been with us 8 years. Give him a chance.
He's still hanging out with Tom Brady, so I don't know what that does. That guy does.
18 yards in his Buccaneer career, but he's 8 seasons. He's the longest serving Buccaneer quarterback ever.
Wow. I think he made almost $10 million. How
Good
about
for
that?
him. He's a really nice guy. Good for him.
2 completions, $10 million. That's fantastic. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back on the other side. Scott Reynolds is going to join us from the Pewter Report. We are brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com, and the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES Lawgroup.com. Scott Reynolds joining us here in 3 minutes. Stay with us. Valspar Championship returns this March 16th to the 19th with 4 days of golf action plus a host of fun activities that make it Tampa Bay's hottest spring sports ticket. Sam Burns, who won in a thrilling playoff last year, is looking to make it 3 wins in a row on the Copperhead course at Innisbrook Resort. He will be challenged by a top field that includes Jordan Spieth, returning for the first time in 5 years. The 2015 Valspar champ counts 13 PGA Tour victories, including 3 majors in his career. It will be a great field and great fun. Tickets are on sale now at ValsparChampionship.com for all tournament days, both grounds tickets and premium ticket options. You don't want to miss the 2023 Valspar Championship. Hey guys, are you experiencing those feelings of getting older, lower sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, or you just don't feel like you had the vitality you once had? It's a chronic problem here in the United States. You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well, so do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Look, testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability, not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Folks, I've been on testosterone therapy for over 6 years, and it is a life changer. You will feel and look better than you did 10 years ago. Give them a call at 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. That's 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. Have you been injured in an accident, in an auto accident, truck accident, motorcycle accident, at work, or at a place of business? Well, call the Jeeves Law Group and get the personal attention that you deserve. I made the mistake many, many years ago with going with one of the bigger law firms, the national law firms. And let me tell you, getting a call back from those folks was next to impossible. Weeks and weeks would go by, never get a call back. That doesn't happen with the Jeeves Law Group. Personal attention is what they're all about. When you call the Jeeves Law Group, you will be part of the family. They will represent you in a vigorous and aggressive way against the insurance companies. These larger companies will promise bigger settlements, but it's the Jeeves Law Group that will get you the best results. If you're tired of dealing with these bigger law firms, check out the Jeeves Law Group. Go to JeevesLawGroup.com, tell them JP sent you, get a free consultation. It's the Jeeves Law Group. Scott Jeeves has been representing clients in the Tampa Bay area for over 25 years. Give them a call. It's a free call, 727-894-2929, 727-894-2929, or go to JeevesLawGroup.com.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show here as we roll through this on a hump day. Paul Stewart joining us from across the pond, buckpower.com. Pushing all the buttons here. Hopefully I got everything right. And, we got Scott Reynolds down here. We'll bring him on, see if we get him on as well. What's up, Scotty? How are you?
Hey, what's up, JP and Paul? How are you?
Oh, we got
very good to see you again, my friend.
Yes, absolutely. I thought about you the other night. I had a Fuller's London Pride. One of my favorite beers.
Well, JP and I were talking. Do you remember it was 5 months ago? The three of us and TJ were all down on the field post-game.
That's right.
And it was 100 years of Buccaneers coverage between us.
Gosh, that sounds really old.
Doesn't it really?
It really does, yeah.
TJ's
I feel like I should make a dinosaur noise right now. Right?
TJ's coming on later, so between all of it. TJ's 30. I think we got like 120 working if FSU math is correct. But hey, we'll dip into all that. But right now, Scotty, since we got you here, let's start with the topical stuff.
Yeah.
I think I just saw where Anthony Nelson was re-signed. Or are you hearing anything on that front? That's bopping around Twitter. Not that that's the biggest signing ever, but there's some things going on this morning. Shaq Mason traded yesterday. Jamel Dean re-signed, which may have shocked you as well. So what do you think of the first rounds of moves? I think for what I expected, getting Jamel back is huge.
Yeah, it really is. It's big in a couple of ways. For the first way is that the Bucks have their starting cornerbacks now, right? Carlton Davis on one side, Jamel Dean on the other, and not just for this year, but also for next year as well. So you can do a little bit more long-term planning. And I think more importantly, because this is going to be a very, very, very important draft for Jason Light. He has got to find he's got to do two things in this draft. He's got to have a draft like in 2018 where he came away with essentially 4 starters, right? If you go back to that year, Vita Vea, Carlton Davis. Now, we can debate whether Rojo was kind of a starter because he was a second-round pick, had an awful rookie year. But, during the Super Bowl year, he kind of developed into a starter. But we're going to put him on the shelf right now, right? So Vita Vea, Carlton Davis, Alex Kappa, and Jordan Whitehead, right? Those are 4 impact players that really had a huge impact during the Bucs Super Bowl run. Alex Kappa was out after that Washington game. He broke his leg, and we know Aaron Stinney, who re-signed yesterday, stepped in. Yep. But that was a really good, impactful draft. When you get 4 starters from a draft, and we saw Whitehead leave for big money to the Jets, we saw Kappa leave for big money for the Bengals, and of course Vita stayed for big money, and so did Carlton. So that was a very impactful draft from a numbers standpoint. Mm-hmm. Jason Light's got to do that again. He's got to find 4, maybe 5 legit starting caliber guys in this draft, but he's got to do one better than that. He's got to find impact players, because Carlton Davis, as a rookie, was not the guy he was in the Super Bowl season when he had 4 interceptions. So was Vita Vea, right? He wasn't the guy. The kind of guys that Jason Light needs are the 2020 guys, Tristan Wirfs, Antoine Winfield, 2 guys that were surefire impact players, not just starters, impact players right out of the gate. So he's got to come away with 4 to 5 starters in this draft, 2 of which have got to be impact players. And the important thing now with Jamel Dean, to circle back around to your point, one of those doesn't have to be a cornerback, especially not in the first round. So they're going to draft a corner probably in rounds 2 through 4. There's a lot of really, really good Todd Bowles, big cornerbacks in this draft that can be had. And the signing of Dean takes away that need in the first round. So maybe now you can go left tackle to replace Donovan Smith. Maybe you can go, with a bit of a pass rusher, although Anthony Nelson coming back gives you a little bit of cushion in case Shaq Barrett doesn't return to form coming from that Achilles injury at age 30. And maybe JTS, isn't that guy that we were hoping he would be. But it does help the Buccaneers just from that standpoint. It takes away a first-round need. Now you can address other needs because this team's going to have quite a few.
Well, so cornerback is not an absolute must-have in the first 2 rounds, because I think if Jamel Dean leaves, it is your first 2 picks, because you're not getting a elite corner unless you're picking them in the first couple of rounds, right? I think we can agree on that. Tough to find those guys later on in the draft. So what are your top positional priorities? And does this give the Buccaneers more latitude to go for the ubiquitous best player available, which is where you always want to be in the draft, right? You never want to be, I got to get a right tackle. I got to get this.
Exactly.
So what would your positional priorities be, or does this really help them go best player?
It should help them go best player. My personal view, and I know it starts off this way for every general manager. You want to draft a Pro Bowl caliber player in the first round, right? And the problem though is as you look at your depth chart, need always kind of creeps up, right? And that's why we do these redrafts a couple years later, and you're like, wow, they passed on this Pro Bowl guy that was picked 7 spots later to get this guy that was an okay starter, but not a Pro Bowler, right? So I think it does allow the Buccaneers to get best player available. You know what? If Dalton Kincaid, the number 1 tight end, is on the board at number 19, you have Cade Otton, who could be your number one. I mean, Cam Brate was a number one tight end here too, but he wasn't Rob Gronkowski. Right. So if you can get a Pro Bowl caliber player, and I think Cade Otton, I think his ceiling could be tight end one, but like probably not a Pro Bowl level guy, but a really good quality starter. But his floor is tight end number two. So if Cade is your tight end number two, and you can get a Dalton Kincaid, whether it's Kyle Trask, a rookie quarterback next year, or Jacoby Brissett or Baker Mayfield this year, you tell me the quarterback that doesn't like throwing to a really good tight end, right? So
it helps so much in these modern offenses of RPOs to have a tight end that can block, that has some girth. I mean, we love Cade, but Cade gets thrown around like a rag doll when he's asked to block. So having that guy makes your offense so much more versatile, as we saw with Rob Gronkowski. And not having that guy last year was obviously very tough for Tom Brady. So I totally agree with you.
Now, at the same time, offensive tackle is going to be a big need. It just is, because you got rid of Donovan Smith. Even if you are hoping and praying, crossing your fingers that despite the short arms, Luke Gedeke could be a better right tackle than a left guard.
Right.
He's not going to be Tristan Wirfs caliber at right tackle for sure, even if you're moving Tristan to left. And even if Tristan has a flawless, because of his top-notch athleticism, a flawless move to the left side, let's say he can be a perennial Pro Bowler at left tackle. Okay, great. But he's had some injury issues before, not of his doing, right? I mean, we're talking about guys running into his leg and knee and all that stuff. And then the same thing with even Donovan. It's hard for tackles to go wire to wire 17 games with the beating that they take and the friendly fire that can occur. Look at Ryan Jensen, right, in training camp. So you're going to need to get a premium swing tackle, a guy that maybe doesn't have to start right away, but if you draft him in the first round, he probably will. I'm thinking like Anton Harrison from Oklahoma would be a good plug and play left tackle at number 19 if he's there. Even if you get another guy, let's say you get Dalton Kincaid in the first round, you come back and get a tackle in the second round. Jason Light loves to build through the trenches on both sides of the ball. And so I think offensive line is still going to be premium pick for the Buccaneers this year, whether it's first or second round. He's going to get one early. That's where the good ones are. And if you go back and look at the Super Bowl year, granted, they lost Alex Kappa. Aaron Stinney stepped in flawlessly for that playoff run. Mm-hmm. But the reason why the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl and the reason why the Chiefs lost the Super Bowl comes down to one thing: the offensive line. Right. That was a reason. That was the biggest thing in the game was the Bucs had a great offensive line. Brady threw 3 touchdowns. They ran for 147 yards. The offensive line was the unsung hero in that Super Bowl. And the Chiefs' offensive line was decimated, and Patrick Mahomes didn't throw a touchdown and got pressured mercilessly. So offensive line is of key importance. And I also saw a statistic that during the 13-4 season in 2021, Tampa Bay's offensive line missed collectively the fewest games out of all their starters, right? So if you want to win in the NFL, you got to have an offensive line that's really, really good. And I think that's going to be paramount for Jason Light as well.
Paul, you want to jump in here?
Yeah, you're just saying about the 2020 draft. They were not picking high up in that draft. They picked Wirfs at 13 and Antoine Winfield at 45. There are other teams, and Wirfs was the 4th tackle chosen out of the big 4. Yeah, I do think the Bucs will go tackle in those first 2 rounds. And yeah, you were saying about the 21 season, they missed the fewest games. It's actually the fewest games in Bucs history missed by a starting offensive line.
Yeah.
They've never had a season like it in the 47 years where the offensive line was that healthy. But you're absolutely right. Yeah, they won the Super Bowl because the Chiefs had no tackles.
Yeah. It's that important. And I think, too, the emphasis would be also on the defensive line. You look at the defensive tackles, right? They have Logan Hall, who this year has really got to step up as that second-round pick from a year ago, as the Bucs' top pick at the start of the second round. He's got to add the weight and really be at least a competent quality starter this year, right? Defensive tackle is a position that usually takes a couple years. Warren Sapp wasn't Warren Sapp until 1997. He started to become Sapp in 96, but in 95, he had he had 3 sacks. I think he had a pick 6 against the Falcons, which was an interesting little shovel pass he picked off on Jeff George, and so, but Warren Sapp had 3 sacks as a rookie. Gerald McCoy had 3 sacks as a rookie. Vita Vea had 3 sacks as a rookie. It's not uncommon for rookie defensive tackles to struggle, and sometimes it takes a couple years. So even if the Bucs drafted a rookie in the first round, and it really isn't a quality defensive tackle in the first round, you can't count on that guy to come in and automatically just light it up. It takes some time. And I hope they re-sign Will Golston just for depth on a real cheap kind of comeback league, minimum deal. They've already lost Nacho to the Giants. Akeem Hicks, if he comes back super cheap, I'm okay with that, just because we're seeing some very average defensive tackles get crazy money in this free agency class here. And this is not a good defensive tackle draft at all. There's Jalen Carter and everybody else. I like Carl Brooks from Bowling Green in the second round, but again, he's making a transition from being an edge guy in a MAC conference to the NFL.
Right.
That's a big leap. He looked really good at the Senior Bowl. He's got some size, some movement. He's got the ability to rush the passer. But we know that this defense struggled to stop the run last year, and that's what led to some losses. So they're going to have to find some really good quality defensive linemen on the cheap in free agency and probably replenish that. They only met with 1 defensive tackle formally at the combine. 1. And that's Zach Pickens, who is from South Carolina, probably a round 3, round 4, round 5 guys. So there's just not many impact guys. But Jason Light likes to build in the trenches. I know Todd Bowles is going to be saying, okay, Jason, get an offensive tackle early, but we need some defensive linemen, So it's going to be that's going to be the positions to watch, is in the trenches, what the Bucs do the rest of free agency and the draft.
Yeah, if you don't bring back Akeem Hicks, and I didn't think he played terrible last year. He just wasn't available as much as you would like. But you're right, with Nacho gone, and Nacho, I think it's going to be a bigger loss than people think, because he played some very good minutes, and it's hard to play just a few snaps and be as impactful as he was, and he brought great energy and positivity. I like that. I mean,
he's a juice player, right? He brings the juice. He and Carl Nassib were the 2 fire starters on the defense, right? And Devin White too. But I'm just saying, in the trenches, it was Nacho. So, and I'll say this: Mike Greenberg stuck to his guns as he had to. What they do is they assign values to everybody in free agency, from Levante David to Jamel Dean to Nacho to Anthony Nelson to Carl Nassib. They assign values beforehand, right? Mm-hmm. And they all kind of come to an agreement. This is the line in the sand. When the player goes across that line, we have to let him go, right? That's what's decided before free agency. Now, I will say this: when Nacho left to go to the Giants, there was a lot of pissed off people at One Ball Place.
Really?
Coaches, Bucs brass, and this guy. Yeah, they love Nacho as a player. And even more as a person, for the value he brings in the locker room, the tempo he sets in practice. It's hard to replace those guys because he's just a naturally effervescent energizer bunny. There's real value in that. And that's honestly, when John Gruden came to Tampa Bay in 2002, the reason why he and Warren Sapp to this day are this close, and that's the reason why Warren Sapp played tight end in the Hurricane package and caught touchdown passes, is because John Gruden loved Warren Sapp, not for the sacks on Sunday.
Yeah.
He loved Warren Sapp for the energy that he brought on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and the walkthrough on Saturday. That's hard to find. And when you have it from your Pro Bowl, future Hall of Fame defensive tackle, even better. But if your frontline guys aren't going to do that for you because it's not within their personality, you got to have those guys in the roster. So there's a lot of pissed off people that Nacho left the building, but you can't bring back everybody in this tight salary cap window.
Well, and here's a good point I'd like to get both of your opinions on, because when you look at this roster right now, and I know it's far from complete, but 2 things: where are the dogs? Where are the real dogs?
Yes.
Second of all, where's the culture leadership? Where's the, that guy? Listen, you may not like the rah guys, but you got to have them. You got to have somebody that gets the enthusiasm going, and it's infectious through the rest of the team. I don't see a lot of that. I don't see a lot of gravitas on this team, and if Levante David leaves, Wow. You got
Look out.
seriously, if you got a vacuum of leadership there
Yeah.
across this whole team. And Todd Bowles talked about, hey, we got to redo the culture.
Yeah.
And with Brady gone, and Brady didn't really bring the Brady culture that he had, he previously brought last year, right? Because he was so distracted. So that I think there's a huge vacuum of leadership here. And I think if I'm Jason Light, I'm, part of my little bio here of the guys I'm drafting, and he's been really good about it. They like drafting captains. They like drafting leaders. Talk about that aspect.
Yeah, you nailed it, because I love ass kickers. I Hardy Nickerson, Warren Sapp, those were the type of players. Jason Pierre-Paul, when he was acquired, those old school throwback guys that that are getting harder and harder to find because of the culture we live in today, not just in football, but the exterior culture. You've got so many of these athletes who've been coddled now and put in the spotlight, the 5-star virus, as Jason Light likes to call it, from high school. They're used to being catered to and worshiped and all of this, and they don't hold themselves accountable. Well, if you're not going to hold yourself accountable, how can you hold others accountable? And I think that's a little bit of a problem Devin White ran into last year, right? It was when Sapp's calling him out for loafing, and we kind of piled on too. And trust me, we didn't get any blowback or pushback from the building. Usually when I write something that strikes a chord, I start getting text messages from the higher ups, and it was crickets on that. They liked that pointing out of Devin White because somebody had to, right?
Yeah.
And so, there's no Jason Pierre-Paul now. Levante David, it was kind of like a Derek Brooks, more of a godfather. He's not the rah-rah guy. He's going to pull you aside and do the one-on-ones. But what made the Buccaneers defense so special was the leadership levels with John Lynch, with Rondé Barber in the secondary, with Derek Brooks, and with Warren Sapp up front, because they had different styles of leadership. And sometimes you need that. It's like, my parents were teachers. My wife actually was a teacher. Kids learn different ways. Some learn by hearing it. Some learn by doing it, actually, like, hands-on doing it. Some learn by reading it. Football players are the same way. You have to reach them differently. And when you have different kind of leaders, you can do that. But you need that ass kicker in the locker room. And I'm a little scared right now. Vita Vea is a really nice guy. Yeah, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka is a great guy. They're nice guys, right? Jamel Dean is a funny, lovable guy. But where are the dogs? That's the thing. And that's something that they need to find in this draft class. And like I said before, they're getting harder and harder to find.
Yeah, it's a great point. Paul, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, to me, the only leaders we've really got are on the offensive side of the ball, with Ryan Jensen, with Mike Evans. They're the true leaders.
Yeah.
So, you're right. Levante is the most experienced player, but like you say, Godfather's a great role for him.
Yeah.
They need someone like that. There's no one in the secondary. And the fact the Bucks had Sapp and then Lynch behind, there was always someone there giving the noise. And that's what they're going to look for. So, I mean, don't worry, Scott. This is prevalent in Premier League football, where you've got these prima donnas who think they know everything. And if you dare criticize them anyway, I'm going to run off to my agent and demand a transfer. Don't worry, we get it on the side of the Atlantic as well.
Are you talking about Ronaldo? Who are you talking about?
Any of them. Any of the Premier League players. They're all as bad as each other, JP.
Well, I mean, just to keep it in football, that's why Roy is my favorite character on, what's the Apple series?
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso, is because he's the guy that holds everybody accountable. He's the surly veteran and the ass kicker, and you have to have that. And the thing is Todd Bowles is going to demand that, and Todd Bowles is very much like Tony Dungy. He's a soft-spoken kind of guy. He's going to drop some F-bombs that Tony won't, but he's not the fire starter that Bruce Arians is, the fire and brimstone guy that John Gruden is. And sometimes you can get that from your head coach. You don't always need it, right? But you got to get it somewhere. And Larry Foote kind of is that guy in the coaching staff on the defensive side. So they have some of it, but at the end of the day, it's got to come from the players. And, we talked about Sapp's energy that he brought to practice. He was also the guy in the huddle who, when the Bucs defense would give up a big run, he would say, whose gap was that? I mean, he would hold everybody accountable. And he'd be the first one. If he was the guy that got double teamed and driven out of the gap, he would hold himself accountable. He'd go in there and point to himself in the huddle.
Yeah.
That's such a necessary part of football. It really is. And if you want to be a great team and you don't have that, it's impossible. So that is a big concerning area. Jason Light needs to draft some assholes. He really does.
Yeah, and it's hard, for rookies to step into that role. Let's just be honest with that, especially in the first year. And you don't have money to go out and get a big name free agent, on the defensive side to do that. And Shaq Barrett, again, is one of your highest paid players. He's not a fire starter.
No, he's a nice guy.
Mild-mannered guy. So, they're going to have some issues in that.
And you know what? I don't want to confuse the audience here, because Rondé Barber is one of the nicest guys in the world. Like, I text Rondé all the time. He's a gentleman. But he was a stone cold killer on the football field. Like, he was an assassin. Simeon Rice was the same way. Simeon Rice always had a smile on his face. I've never seen Simeon without a big, ear to ear grin, but he was an assassin on the football field. So you can be a nasty football player. John Lynch knocked out his own brother-in-law, right? And he's one of the most calm, cool, collected guys off the field. So you can be that nasty assassin on the football field, and you can have that switch that flips. The great ones have that. Rice, Barber, Lynch, those types of guys have that. You don't have to be the fire and brimstone, Sapp, Nickerson, 24/7 guys that they were. But even Jason Pierre-Paul was I throw him in that mix too. Always, prodding. That's the type of mentality he had. Sue was very much like Rondé Barber and John Lynch, very soft-spoken off the field. He will stomp on your face on the field. And so it's not so much off the field, it's got to be on the field. That's where they need some nasty, and they better find it. Or some of these guys like Logan Hall and Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, they better find their inner dog this year. This Bucs defense is going to need it.
Hey, listen, before you go, I'm going to spend just a few minutes and say, I got Paul here and I got you here. Let's have some fun in history here.
Okay.
We've got, and Paul, you can kind of take the lead on this, because we were doing this back and forth, like the top 10 free agents the Bucs have ever signed, and the bottom 10. The bottom 10 is always more fun. It's always more fun. I think we could all say it at the same time. The worst free agent ever signed.
1994.
Alvin Harper. Yeah. Alvin Harper was bad.
Best story I can ever tell you about Alvin Harper, and I've got to give David Whitley, former Tampa Tribune columnist, credit for this one. Harper had 2 awful years with the Bucs. He then signed with Washington. He came back and played in the preseason game.
Yeah.
And he famously walked up and said, "I don't believe I ever played here in Tampa." And Whitley called out, "Yeah, you've got the stats to prove it."
Yes. Well, it was, I never like to see anybody get hurt playing the game of football, right? Because, at the end of the day, these guys are human beings. They're going to have life after football. But it was a little bit of karma there, a little bit of cosmic intervention when JoJo Patrone, the team trainer, cut off part of Alvin Harper's finger, right? I mean, it just, it's a little bit like that, a little bit of a payback there for what he did to Tampa. There were some really bad free agents. I remember Derek Ward, the running back. Mark Dominic gave him, opened up the checkbook. He never showed up for OTAs, never did any team bonding. He was a terrible free agent signing.
Who was the tackle? Michael Johnson, that I think that was another dominant.
Yes, I've got him down there.
Defensive end.
2014, Michael Johnson. Yeah. From the Bengals.
The Bengals. He didn't even want to.
He was bad. Yeah. Anthony Collins, the left tackle from the Bengals, was a terrible signing.
2012, you've got Carl Nix, of course, had injury issues, and Eric Wright, the cornerback. That was a disaster.
Eric Wright was terrible. Yeah, he was awful. Who was the defensive tackle that played here one year?
Baker.
Yes, Chris Baker. Yeah, he was awful.
Oh my God, yeah,
he was bad. There's a lot of bad ones. I would say that the best ones that come to mind, obviously, you look at and they're kind of different categorized, right? It's like you got to categorize Tom Brady. What's that?
Who was the very first free agent the Bucs ever signed in 1993? I still think the best ever. Hardy Nickerson.
Yeah, I was going to say Hardy Nickerson. It was certainly the impetus of changing the culture, and probably Tony Dungy's best free agent signing too when he re-signed him. Imagine if Tony Dungy comes to the Buccaneers in 1996 and doesn't get Hardy Nickerson on board, and Hardy leaves. That might have stunted the growth of the rebuild. That was one of the biggest re-signings in franchise history, was the re-signing of Hardy Nickerson in Tony Dungy's first year. So critical to the development of Sapp and Brooks and Lynch and all that stuff in years to come with Hardy's leadership. Tom Brady, obviously, that's as good as it gets. I think when it comes to probably the most unheralded signing, Shaq Barrett, right? The value that he brought for 1 year, $4 million for Jason Light, to get a guy that had 19 and a half sacks to lead the league and break Sapp's record. And then, gosh, the next season helps them win a Super Bowl with a tremendous postseason. Shaq Barrett's up there, man. He's one of the most dynamic, low value surprise free agent signings this team's ever had.
I've got a couple of other ones. I've line for you. Jeff Fain, 2008. Ryan Jensen, of course. I was there. Yep. In fact, you and I stood next to each other at Ryan Jensen's press conference when he signed for the Bucs. I remember you and I talking about it, saying this guy's going to be. He's nasty. He's going to be tough.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely a tone setter. And boy, Jason Light could use another tone setter like that. But there's. What were you going to say, JP? Who are you going to throw out there?
I was just going to ask you for moments, like the worst moments that you've witnessed, in like the lowest moments of Buccaneer history, and then the highest moments of Buccaneer history. And I'm trying to. And when I talk about the highest, because we've all been there for both of the Super Bowl wins, and it's so hard to pick because one involves the greatest player in the history of the game. Mm-hmm. He picked us. I mean, Tom Brady, we were the ugly duckling that sat at the wrong table in the lunchroom that nobody ever talked to. And the homecoming king came by and said, come on, I think we could go to the homecoming dance right now. I mean, and then it takes you to a Super Bowl. I don't know if it can get any better than that. Right. But then again, you look at 2002 and you say, I mean, how bad has this franchise been for so long? And to culminate that journey that started in 97 with a Super Bowl and a dominant win like that, and really put the city of Tampa on the map. I mean, which one do you pick? Which one do you? These are two amazing stories. Which one would you pick as the better one?
I have to say both, just because they're so completely different.
Say both. Come on.
I'm an old timer, so for me, it's 2002. I've got more invested in the 2002 team. Remember, 2020, that was a COVID year, right?
Yeah.
I didn't step foot in the Bucs locker room. Neither did you, right? I mean, this was a team that we got to know via Zoom. I didn't physically meet Tom Brady until 2021 at the Bruce Arians event. That's the first time I physically shared a room with Tom Brady. Yeah. So to me, I walked in the door in 95 with Brooks and Sapp. That was my first year covering the Buccaneers. So for me, I had more emotionally and mentally invested in seeing that team grow up.
I agree.
And come so close in 1999, right? And they were the darling in 1998, right? And they let the media kind of get to their head. They finished 8-8. So for me, it's always going to be the 2002 Bucs, and they won with defense. And I was glad that it wasn't just Tom Brady and the offense winning in that Super Bowl in 2020. I'm glad that Todd Bowles and that defense held the Chiefs out of the end zone too. That was pretty special for a guy like me who really loves and values defense.
Paul?
Well, for me, it's the first one because, to say, I was there. I couldn't go to the last ones we talked about. When it comes to the worst moment in Bucs history, I can give you one quote. With the first pick of the 1986 draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select running back Bo Jackson from Auburn.
Oh, yeah.
It'll never get worse.
Man. Now for me on the Bucs beat, again, I came in 95. I would say that the "We're Not Tennessee Ready" game, the Jameis Winston versus Marcus Mariota, right, to start the 2015 season, that was one of the most embarrassing games. Like I felt embarrassment for Buccaneer fans there because we had been all in at Pewter Report on them drafting Jameis Winston, and Marcus Mariota looks like a Pro Bowl future Hall of Famer in that game, and Jameis throws a pick six on his first pass as a Buccaneer. How fitting for Jameis Winston to throw a pick six on his first pass and his last pass. Just to bookend that 5 years in Tampa Bay. But even worse than that, the collapse of the Capitol in 2015 that year, when the Bucks had the massive lead. I called for Lovie Smith to be fired after that game, and thank God he was. He was absolute awful coach. Listen, Lovie Smith honestly should be booked on charges for grand larceny. He is a thief. That man stole money from the Buccaneers, from the University of Illinois, and the Houston Texans. He has no right to be a head coach. He's one of the most awful head coaches. Forget what he did with the Bears. That's a long time ago. As we found out with Lovie Smith, with Mike Smith, if you don't continue to evolve, this game will pass you by. And the old gray-haired guys that are still in the game have evolved. That's why those dinosaurs are still here and they're not extinct. But for some of these older coaches, they got to be put out to pasture because the game of football evolves and grows.
Yeah, it's so absolutely true. I was trying to remember. I just remember watching the game.
Hold on. Imagine being a season ticket holder in 2014, right? They just fired Greg Schiano, who went 4-12, right? And they bring in Lovie Smith back from Tony Dungy's defense. We're returning to the good old days. They switched to the alarm clock uniforms, like the ugly one here over my shoulder. So they start the era with god-awful uniforms, and you're a season ticket holder in 2014, and you didn't see a single win. They went 0-8 at home. They went winless at home. How horrific was that?
What was the last game? One of the last
against
games?
the Saints.
What about
the
one in Atlanta when they lost like 54 to something? Do you remember
what
year was that?
Down on Thursday night. That is the only game that I have turned off while watching live, and I then watched the rest of the following morning.
I remember watching
one I've ever done it with.
Oh man!
I remember watching that game, going like, "Is this practice or like have he just completely checked out?" I mean, guys weren't even getting out of their stances.
Yeah,
I mean, they were just.
Yeah, that was Dirk Cutter. That was Dirk Cutter. Julio Jones went off in that game, and Dirk Cutter said we had 17 different defenses we called to stop Julio Jones, and that was Mike Smith. That's where Mike Smith, showed his age and his lack of creativity, and it was awful.
Oh, it was bad. And they had a bye week, and they still didn't fire him. And like 2 weeks later, they fired him. And I love Mike Smith to death. Great guy. I think at the end, Mike was just like, "Yeah, whatever. Can I take? I'm and that happens. Even with coaches as well." Yep. Well, guys, this has been Scott. It's been great. Paul's going to stay on with me. Thank you so much for your time.
Paul, great seeing you.
Hours and hours and hours. So good.
JP, always a pleasure.
We'll catch up again.
Yeah, tell everybody what you guys are doing at Pewter Report this week. I know you got your battle plans out.
Battle plans are out. We got a new SR's Fab 5 coming on Friday, which is quickly approaching. I forget what day it is in free agency. Today's Wednesday, right? It's Wednesday. So that means we have a podcast tonight and also tomorrow night at 7 p.m. You can find that on Pewter Report TV. It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to that. Check out our podcast. If you don't catch them live, it's fine. We have all the podcasts there in archive formats. You can watch them later. Check out the mothership, pewterreport.com. We just put up the Anthony Nelson story on the website. We've got some more content coming later today. And you can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Pewter Report.
Awesome stuff, Scotty. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. We'll
take care, guys.
All right. I love, cheers. Absolutely. The walks down memory lane are just the best. Let me get my overlays here. This is tough stuff here, folks, but you got to do this right. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back on the other side, and we're gonna talk to a PGA Tour caddy. I'm also gonna hit the lightning here for a little bit as well. Some other news. I watched the Rays game last night for a little bit. The new pitch clock and everything else. So we'll talk. It's good stuff. So we'll talk that as well. Lots more to come here on the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group and Bay Area Modern Medical Center. If you're looking to lose weight or testosterone replacement therapy, Chris Lugo is the man to see. So go to BAMMC.com and get your appointment. Back at 3. Hey guys, JP here for the Gold and Diamond Source. There is no better place to shop for jewelry than the Gold and Diamond Source. We know that they are the family jewelers and they will treat you like family. It's always a fun experience. Just head on over there. You will not find a better selection anywhere in the world. It's a jewelry super center. They've got engagement rings, necklaces, earrings, pendants, chains, and thousands of diamonds to choose from. They're all right there. They don't have to ship anything in. They have jewelry for every price range as well. Guys, if you're looking for some of those baller watches, they have a great selection. They have new and used. You can get some great collectibles there as well. And if you're looking for some more affordable gold and diamond jewelry, you have to check out the Emily collection from Emily Johnson Weintraub. Emily created this collection for people who want to wear and stack elaborate jewelry but don't want to pay the big ticket prices. You got to check this stuff out. The Golden Diamond Source has plenty of options to accommodate any budget, interest-free financing for up to 5 years, and a layaway program, 20% down and only 6 monthly payments. And this month only, get up to 15% off the March birthstone, which is aquamarine. Like we always say, keep it local, folks. The Golden Diamond Source, Julie and Steve Weintraub, such great philanthropic benefactors. So let's keep it all local here when we have the opportunity, right? It's the Golden Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. All right, this is for all you guys who don't want to go to the gym and do 5,000 crunches. At Bay Area Modern Medical Center, you can get on the new True Body machine where you can reduce fat and tone up your muscle. It's like doing 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Define your body as you see fit. True Body offers personalized muscle stimulation that delivers the equivalent of those 54,000 crunches in just 15 minutes. Just get in touch with them at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Chris Lugo and the team over there will set you up on True Body and get amazing results. Non-invasive with comfortable and little to no pain and zero downtime. You can isolate and target those areas that you want to improve and treat multiple areas simultaneously. It's an amazing machine, so check it out at Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. Well, Fitz the mortgage guy did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man, Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595, or go to scott@amstampa.com. Insurance coverage can be confusing and expensive. I mean, where do you start? Which companies can you count on to pay out fast and fair? Well, call the great folks at Italiano Insurance. It's a family-owned business. Jeff and Nat Italiano are carrying on the 60-year-plus tradition of giving amazing customer service and giving back to the community through their annual backpack drive for needy students and their support of the local pediatric cancer patients. But it's the customer service that sets them apart. They can shop all your insurance needs and save you big-time money. Don't hop on the internet and waste time looking at some bogus reviews. Talk to knowledgeable agents and not some voice-generated robot. These are confusing times for homeowners, and Italiano's team of experienced professionals can provide the right coverage for every situation: home, auto, business, life. It's Italiano for all the pieces of your life. Call 813-877-7799 or go to italianoinsurance.com.
Let's go! Right now, back to the show with JP on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the great folks at Jeeves Law Group, the Golden Diamond Source, American Mortgage Services, Italiano Insurance, and the Valspar Championship. Don't forget, this week the Valspar is on. We got the groupings out. We'll talk a little bit about that in a bit. We'll talk with PGA Tour caddy Brian Reed, who'll join us in a little bit as well. So, it's going to be a freaking show out there like they've never had before. Gronk is going to be out there at the rooftop on Friday afternoon. We got the English lads going off all together. So we'll have all the blokes following them as well. Going to be fun times out there. Paul Stewart is joining us from across the pond. And where's your locale now? You're not in London, right?
Well, I live about 150 miles southwest of London. So if you look on a map of England, I'm in the bottom left-hand corner. The nearest big town to me is Exeter. So I'm quite away from where I used to be, but I'm out here in the country. It's a balmy 40 degrees, wet and windy. A typical March, a 3-layer day for playing golf, as we talked about last night.
Well, I'm going to get out this afternoon on probably a 65-degree sunny day here, and although it was a little rainy this morning, I don't know if it's cleared up, but 65 and sunny's not too bad to play golf in.
I never did like you.
Don't worry, I'll send you pictures. I'll FaceTime you from there so you can get a real good feel for how wonderful warm.
Yeah, I get this. TJ Reeves phones me. He takes his dog out for a walk, and he's walking along the 9th on the TPC Tampa, and he points the phone to the sky where it's 80 degrees. I could really go off some people quickly, you know?
That's how we do it here. That's how we do it. No question about it. Hey, I got breaking news. I'm coming to see you in September of 2024. FSU is going to play Georgia Tech in Dublin. So I will be.
I will have to fly across the Irish Channel, the Irish Sea, to go and see that game. That sounds like a good one. The Seminoles coming to this side of the pond.
Yes, that's going to be great. We'll probably come over and play golf with you the week before. Yeah, because the Bucks will start the week after. So the week before, we'll come over and we'll do maybe a little British Open Rota as we did a couple of years ago in Scotland and play the old course. Maybe a couple of your finest as well. Maybe I've not been to Wales or any of. I've been to Scotland, been to London a few times. I mean, I love the history of London. What an incredible city, but a little crowded for me, a little crowded. And I've done Ireland many, many times, Dublin and Belfast about 3 or 4 years ago. We played Portmarnock and where'd they just have the Open there?
Portrush.
Portrush, yeah. Played Portrush. What a fabulous golf course that is. Yes. So we'll definitely come over for a week or two beforehand and then go see the Seminoles play. I don't know where they'll play in Dublin. What is it?
It will be the rugby stadium, Croke Park. Yeah.
Croke Park, right? Yeah. I've been by it many times, never been inside it for rugby matches or anything like that. So, yeah, looking forward to that. So, Dublin 2024 for FSU Georgia Tech.
So now we've got a big rugby tournament going on. We have a thing called the Six Nations, which is England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, France, and Italy. Now, England last week got absolutely annihilated by the French. It's the first time the French have beaten us at anything in 1,000 years. So it was a bit of a shock to get beaten by them. Ireland, it's the final round of matches this week. If Ireland beat England, they become Six Nation champions. And it's also a certain St. Patrick's Day this weekend. Anyone would think the whole part of Ireland is going to be drunk celebrating.
So tell me, so Ireland can, if they beat England, now when is this match?
It's this weekend. It's the last game of the round. Each team plays each other. So this is the 5th round of matches. Ireland will beat England pretty comfortably. They will become champions. They'll achieve what's called the Grand Slam, which means they won all 5 games they played. And as I say, Ireland, you won't get any sense out of an Irishman for the next month because they're going to be drinking and celebrating.
I married an Irish girl many years ago, and so I spent a lot of time in Ireland and know a lot of the Irish. Yeah, that is serious. But to the Irish, I would say rugby is the most important thing. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. I mean, we have, to us, of course, now we talk about the World Baseball Classic later as well. To us, representing our country is very important in sports. So you might support Chelsea or Tottenham or Manchester United in soccer, but then you support England in the World Cup. And we're used to doing this at rugby and cricket and all the other sports. And as a nation, it's very rare that you Americans support America. It happened in the Soccer World Cup. You don't really do it in hockey or baseball or basketball because, you play a franchise system. So it's something that we grow up with, supporting our country, that's a little bit alien and different for you.
Yeah, and plus America's not good at anything anymore. So we're not even good at baseball anymore. I mean, we're not even going to win the World Baseball Classic, which is crazy. Like we used to dominate every sport, back when we had work ethics and, and meritocracies and things like that. We don't do that anymore. It's crazy, crazy nonsense going on. So we're just not, we don't excel at anything anymore. And it's interesting because it has reflected itself in the sporting world, in the Olympics and any international competitions you see. I mean, I can't, it's just, there's no question about it. Our culture has just been dumbed down, demeaned. We're just not excellent at anything anymore the way we used to be. I think it should be a wake up call for many. But you're right in terms of international sports now, even World Baseball Classic. We're not even. I mean, we've got a great lineup. It looks good, but I don't think we're going to win this thing. And you told me the British team is not even close to being British.
Okay, so a bit of a story about the Great Britain baseball team, because they've just finished. They went 1-3. They did pretty well last night against Mexico. This team is not British at all. The way some of these people have qualified, there's a guy whose mother held a Hong Kong passport in the 90s when it was a British colony. There's a guy whose father was born in Jamaica. So what he did, about 15 years ago, they went through the whole minor leagues and said, has anyone got any kind of British ancestry? And this is how the players have become part of the Great Britain baseball team. Most of that team have never been outside mainland America. There are 2 people from the British Baseball League involved. And it got a bit annoying because although it's going to promote the game, they asked people in the British League, all the teams, to help contribute money. And they all told them to take a hike. Why should we give money to this? Now, I played in the British League for 14 seasons. I love baseball. And had this happened in 89 or 92, I wouldn't have made the final roster, but I would have been on the 40-man prep for it because I won nearly 50 games as a pitcher in the British League. But when they talk about a Great Britain baseball team, this is the most dubious way. Now, TJ and I were talking about this, and TJ and I decided, because he's been to London and been on the London Eye with me, his 2 daughters are going to represent Great Britain at volleyball in the 2028 Olympics.
I think that's how it works these days anyway. Oh, hilarious. Good stuff.
It's a lovely idea. It's promoting the game around the world. And you've seen from the highlights, the Mexican fans, the Colombian fans, what Japan are going mental over it. It's not really about America winning. It's about promoting the game around the world. And baseball's the winner, not a country. And that's the way you need to look at it.
Yep, absolutely. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Brian Reed's going to join us, PGA Tour caddy for Matt Kuchar. We'll talk about the Valspar Championship. We'll talk about the state of golf, live golf versus the PGA Tour, all that fun stuff, and some of the full swing documentary going on, all that good stuff with Brian Reed. So take 3 minutes. We will be back. Stay with us. PGA Tour's Valspar Championship returns March 16th to the 19th with 4 days of incredible golf plus a host of activities that make it Tampa Bay's hottest spring sports ticket. There is more to the Valspar than just great golf. It's the Hooters Owl's Nest, the Snake Pit Club, accessible by premium tickets, and other great venues throughout the course for those with ground tickets. And new in 2023 is the Rooftop, a new prestigious venue at the 18th green with music, food, and fun. Plus, you never know who you're going to see at the Rooftop. Tickets are on sale now at ValsparChampionship.com for all tournament days, both grounds tickets and premium ticket options. You don't want to miss the 2023 Valspar Championship. Insurance coverage can be confusing and expensive. I mean, where do you start? Which companies can you count on to pay out fast and fair? Well, call the great folks at Italiano Insurance. It's a family-owned business. Jeff and Nat Italiano are carrying on the 60-year-plus tradition of giving amazing customer service and giving back to the community through their annual backpack drive for needy students and their support of the local pediatric cancer patients. But it's the customer service that sets them apart. They can shop all your insurance needs and save you big-time money. Don't hop on the internet and waste time looking at some bogus reviews. Talk to knowledgeable agents and not some voice-generated robot. These are confusing times for homeowners, and Italiano's team of experienced professionals can provide the right coverage for every situation: home, auto, business, life. It's Italiano for all the pieces of your life. Call 813-877-7799 or go to italianoinsurance.com. Well, Fitz the mortgage guy did it again. A listener heard his ad, was going to another big bank, but called Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services of Tampa, and Fitz saved him $618 on his monthly payment. Are you kidding me? Folks, that's big money. Rates are going up, they're going down, they're going all over the place. Scott will shop your loan and save you lender fees and get the best rates. Email him, scott@amstampa.com, or call 813-294-7595. That's Fitz the mortgage guy. Lots of stuff going on right now, and these rates are going all over the place. You need somebody knowledgeable in the market that will work hard for you and get you the best deal. That's my man, Scott. He's done 3 loans for me, done thousands of loans for local folks here, works with a lot of the coaches and players in the area. He's the guy. 813-294-7595, or go to scott@amstampa.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's rock.
This is FanStream Sports with JP.
All right, welcome back to the show here today. As we roll on, my partner Nick Geddes will be back next week after he gets back from his wonderful honeymoon. So congrats to him. Right now we're going to talk to him. Absolutely. Paul Stewart is joining us from across the pond. I know it says Nick Geddes below him, but I can't get rid of that. So I can only do so much here. So let's welcome in Brian Reed, who's the caddy for Matt Kuchar on the PGA Tour, who joins us here, not playing in the Valspar, but has played many times there. What's up, Brian? How are you, my friend?
Great. How you guys doing?
So you got your Rays hat on there. You're a local resident, as are many of the PGA Tour caddies. Tell me, how's it been on tour with Matt this week? I know you guys had some interesting things at the Players, some new equipment I was just reading about. How's things going?
Yeah, it's been a good year so far. Had a good tournament in LA at the Genesis, which was nice, one of those elevated events.
Yes.
Have a nice little Sunday and make a nice little check there, and played pretty decent the week before in Phoenix. So didn't have a great Players. Had a bad Friday. It was tough that afternoon, but got off to a pretty good start. So we need to get it rolling here. We're in the match play next week. That's kind of unfortunately why he skipped the Valspar, which is always sad to miss out the home event. And Tracy does such a great job, and Rondé and everybody. It's a great event. Yeah,
I mean, well, let's go back to the Players a little bit. You talked about that Friday. The winds got up. It was, rain moving in, and that whole experience over there just must be incredible. For you picking a club on 17, take me through that whole process and that whole amphitheater there.
It's pretty awesome. That's such a great setting. I think it's definitely one of my favorite tournaments. 17, the wind, you just can't feel it. They have so many, the grandstands around there that block the wind, and you can't. I try to start checking it on 16 when you're kind of parallel to the green, when you're in about 100 yards short of that green, and you're dead even with the green, so you can kind of see it there. But it just switches. The first round, our whole group, Lucas Glover, JT Poston, they were up first, and I was thinking it was a perfect gap wedge. We had a similar number on 15 with the exact same wind, and we get up on 17, and the wind it should have been left, right, a little bit of help, and it was hurting. And you could see it coming in off the water, and it switched for about 5 minutes, and it kind of wreaked havoc on our whole group with having to switch to hit a little pitching wedge. And I think JT hit in the water. He hit first, and then we had to go with pitching wedge, and Matt and Lucas both hit good shots, but it just that hole is, it can break your whole day.
Gosh, I can only imagine. Paul, you have some questions for now. Paul is a very good amateur golfer. He lives over in England. He's joining us here, and very knowledgeable in the game. So he's been boning up on all the Matt Kuchar stats and has some questions for you. So here we go.
All right.
Yeah, Matt. How many times have you caddied for Matt on this side of the pond on links courses?
We did the British Open a couple of years ago. We didn't get in the British Open last year. We unfortunately was the first one back with COVID. It was in Sandwich, and it was just a weird Open. I love going over for the British Open, and all the pubs, and it's a great experience. And that week we were kind of locked down, as you'd say, and we had to stay. And Matt and I stayed in the house together, and we couldn't really do much. So it was just kind of a long week. Done a couple Scottish Opens, and I think we're planning on going back to the Scottish Open this year again. So it's always fun.
Because something that the listeners won't be aware of is whereas over here you might go, hey, I've got 125 yards, it's a gap wedge or a wedge. When you're in Scotland, you could have 125 yards and it could be anything from a 3/4 lob wedge to a full 7-iron to a bump and run shot. How on earth do you and Matt put that together? How do you see the shot?
I think like you said, it's just so, I mean, you the British Open or this links course, you might not even play. You're not, sometimes in the tour you're playing for a front number. There you might be wanting to land at 20 short. It's just all about bouncing it up. It's just a different game. So it's I enjoy it. And I know Matt enjoys it. He kind of should have won that Open a few years back with the Jordan Spieth one when Jordan hit. That should have been out of bounds. So that's still. Luckily, we got revenge a couple of years ago.
I was there.
Yeah.
I was there when that happened. Just one thing though, Brian, you've got to call it the Open. It's not the British
I got
Open.
you. Yeah.
I knew he was going to call you on that, Brian. I knew every time you said British, I'm like, oh, Paul's getting up your butt on this one. It's the Open.
I knew it as soon as I said it.
Yeah.
So all right, so this is great. So we got Paul who's like, okay, I remember when Jordan Spieth did that, and it should have been out of bounds. You got the caddy right here saying it should have been out of bounds. Let's see you two go at it. Brian, explain to us why you think that he got a little bit of a favorable ruling there.
Well, I mean, that's just usually when you hit on the range, most courses that's out of bounds. So I actually wasn't working for him that year. I was there that week, but he had John Wood on the bag that year. It was just, it was a tough deal. I mean, I think, Matt was there on that hole for about 45 minutes, it seemed. Yeah. And, it is what it is. I think Jordan is a great guy. And so, he's a fitting champ. It was just a tough, that's the way it was. So,
Absolutely.
But Cooch got revenge when I was working for him a couple years ago at the match play and beat Jordan in the match play there. So that was that was kind of fun.
A couple of things that happened on that Jordan play was one of the first things that happened was Jordan went across to Matt and apologised for taking so long. It was a really classy thing. The other thing Jordan did is because all of us journalists had written our stories, Spieth was going to win. Then we had to stop backtracking because it looked like he was going to blow it. And then he won. So he came into the press conference. And the first thing he said was, I'd like to apologise to you guys for you having to rewrite your story 3 times. And we all loved him for it. And I think you're absolutely right about it being out of bounds because normally, now I've played Birkdale and you've got part of the course, it's right next to a course called Hillside, which is a fantastic links course, just one of the best you could ever play. And in past Opens, that has been out of bounds. But for some reason, they didn't make it out of bounds this time. And that's what surprised some people. But Jordan was absolutely right. He realised he could take the drop and go back and then get the relief. So the rules were there. But yeah, it was a one-off that it wasn't out of bounds before, but it wasn't in 2017.
Wow, how about that? Hey, Brian Reed joining us here. Matt Kuchar's caddy on the PGA Tour. Talk to me about Full Swing, the Netflix documentary. Are the players talking about it? Have they watched it? Were you aware when they were filming the whole thing what they were doing? Because it's become this incredible sensation. Do the players like it? What's the scuttlebutt on tour?
I think they did a nice job. They pretty much stayed out of the way. You saw them a little bit, but I didn't notice it. Obviously, we weren't. Cooch wasn't featured in it. A lot of the players had to agree on that. So, but we were paired with Justin Thomas. I think we played with him in Phoenix and just talked to him a little bit about it. They said that they did a nice job and they kind of got to do. They gave them as much as they wanted. So I think that it's been nice. I mean, I think the players that did it, they did it for a reason, and they're getting some. More notoriety out of it and, whatnot. Some of the players didn't need that, but guys like Joel Damon and his caddy Gino, they're going to benefit huge from that. And they're both great guys. So, that is what you see there with them. They're awesome people. So it's cool to see that stuff. I've watched a few of them. I haven't watched them all yet, but they're entertaining.
Well, yeah, especially Gino. I mean, as a caddy, my friend is getting large. He's getting big. And he's probably going to capitalize on it in terms of social media or what have you. So I don't know, man.
Sure.
I think if I were you, I'd get your agent working on that right away. See if you can get you. So Matt's a pretty private guy. He doesn't want to be a part of that, right?
No, that's just, I mean, probably both of us, we're kind of maybe a little older school. I don't know. I just, there's enough. I don't know. It's a dangerous. I think it can be dangerous. So I just kind of stay out of it. I'm on there. I'm basically on there for sports and following a few bands I like and stuff like that. But I kind of try to stay out of it. I'll chime in every once in a while on some local sports here when it gets me going here. But
Gotcha.
There's a question we've got for you, Brian, from a couple of people at my home club here at Honiton in Devon, and they wanted to know, what does Matt think about everyone going Cooch all the time, and how do you feel? Are you sick of it now?
No, he gets asked that a lot, and it's funny because you some of the terms you'll hear it. And I think he enjoys it. I mean, it's all it's meant well, so they like him. It's better than they not say anything about you. So he takes it well. He gets it as a pro, and he's great to work for, and he just he's great for signing autographs, getting stuff. Even if he's had a bad day, he still does the little things here and there. So it's nice to see. I work for different guys that don't really, it's a tough thing. You're trying to play, you're trying to focus, and then you got to realize you are entertainers as well.
Yeah, exactly. Now, does he have any kinship with your favorite hockey player, Nikita Kucherov? I mean, they're both Cooch. They both get to say, have they had any contact at all?
It's funny. Yeah, no, there's a couple of my buddies here have a shirt company where they've kind of made some stuff where, cashing on some of that Champa Bay stuff and Cooch. Right. And I keep wanting to grab him that Cooch shirt. I haven't done it yet, but maybe I'll grab one. But it's funny. Cooch spends the summer in Idaho along with Coops there, and they've become friends. So he's kind of a little Cooch is a Lightning fan now.
Okay, cool. Interesting stuff. Yeah. All right. So tell me a little bit about Valspar this week. They've grown up the rough. I don't know if you've been out there at all. And it's going to be hell for these guys. How do you think that's going to affect the play this week as far as them growing up the rough so much?
Well, they talk about the golf ball and everything, but if the rough's up these courses and they get it firm, that's all the courses, the defense they need. I haven't been out there this week, but I know they can get that rough up. And I actually have one of my good caddy buddies is staying with me this week. He caddies for Stewart Scott Sajanek, and he's said the course is in great shape and it's going to be a good week. Hopefully looks like the weather could be bad on the weekend, but hopefully it's great. I know Tracy and the whole, they do such a great job. So it's cool to see. I was maybe trying to get a job looking at the alternate list, seeing if any of my buddies were not going to be here and I could fill in, but it's not looking that way. So.
Yeah. How does that work? Since Matt decided not to play this week, are you free to go pick up a bag?
Yeah. I mean, I would obviously just tell Cooch, but yeah, I'm here. So if it happens, then, I would do it. I worked a couple of years ago for Kevin Stadler, who I worked for like 5 years. So it ended up being a cool thing because that's when we got paired with Rick Peckham on the Monday, and we've become buddies and play golf, and he takes me to Lightning games all the time. So it's couldn't have a nicer guy than Rick Peckham. So that was a bonus of that week. We didn't play good, but we got to meet Rick, and it was fun.
All right.
I remember back when Ben Curtis won the Open at Royal St George's back 20 years ago, he picked up a European Tour caddy who, again, had the week off. Ben was flying in, needs the local caddy. The guy ends up picking up an Open Championship with him. So it can happen.
Yeah, it can happen. It's a funny thing in the caddy world. You try not to miss. You don't want to miss. If your guy's playing, you try to be there. I mean, I miss all kinds of important events, weddings and stuff. If your guy's playing, you better be there because it's an unwritten rule that he's probably going to win that week or play well. So you show up. So one of my good buddies caddies for Russell Knox, and he had a family spring break planned, and he's not working this week for Russell Knox. So Russell Knox might be a nice bet.
Might be a nice bet this week. Hey, before you go, I don't know, and if you don't want to talk about this because I know it's very, very a touchy subject with Live Golf, but I would think Matt was probably approached. I don't know. He would seem like a guy with a big name that they would want on that tour. What has Matt made his stance public on the Live? What's your take on the whole feud between these two?
Matt. I think he's looked at it as it's competition is good for the game, but he loves the PGA Tour and he thinks that's where he wants to be, and he's obviously he's top 10 all time in earnings, and he's got a lot vested with the tour. So, we talked about it a little bit and things, obviously I don't know if he was offered anything or not, but I know that, the tour is just such a great spot. The commissioners, Jay Monahan, has had a tough job to deal with all the stuff he's had to deal with, shutting down the players with COVID. It seems like the tour is kind of going back in the direction of all the positive stuff now in the live. Looks like it's kind of losing steam to me. I think that's just the way it is. But competition's good. I mean, look at these elevated events now and more money. Helped us out in LA. We finished 8th place and made $625,000. That used to be that was a win not that long ago. So it's a great thing. I think like a guy like Matt, he's always set his own schedule, and that's one thing that you look at live. These guys are forced to play, and they're dealing with stuff that they can't control at that point. So that these guys have always enjoyed being independent contractors, and within reason, playing when they want to.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're not doing that with live, right? I mean, that's you're kind of, it's like a team sport. Then you're getting paid up front, but I just think golf should have proper tournaments, and the majors are what it's at, but you need cuts and you need to turn. I feel like it's just proper golf, I
agree 100%. All right, Brian, great stuff as always, my friend. We will chat with you down the road, and hopefully you pick up a bag this week, and I'll see you out there at Valspar. Thanks, bud.
All right, great talking to you guys.
Take
care. See you. Bye.
Stuff. I always, I couldn't agree more with him on that. On live golf, and you and I haven't talked about that just yet, so I might as well get your thoughts on live golf and where it's at in terms of the international game, because I don't think the DP Tour is going to allow them to gain world ranking points either, right? They're standing pretty firm with the PGA Tour, if I have that correct.
Yeah, I mean, the DP World Tour very much is a second level tour to the PGA now, and it happens. There's no real European and American tours anymore. I think the view is, and I mean, Greg Norman was trying to destroy the PGA Tour back in the 90s. Greg Norman is in it for Greg Norman, and Greg Norman. All he cares about is himself. So I've been anti-live right from the start. And I know we've got someone coming on in a few minutes who's got a slightly alternative viewpoint on that. To me, I hope it dies in a corner. I don't care about it. I haven't watched any of their events. And the people they've got going are the people who were good 10 years ago, or the malcontents. So as I said, you can have Poulter, you can have Sergio Garcia, you can have Patrick Reed. Please take Tyrrell Hatton as well, because the people on tour don't want him because he's that unpopular. So as far as I'm concerned, off you go, have your exhibitions. To me, I'd like to see the ban from the majors as well, but that's just me. I'm an old guy. Get off my lawn, JP.
I'm with you on that, brother. It's funny. I hadn't really even thought about that, but a lot of the guys that went over there are the guys you didn't want around anyway. And Brooks Koepka's turned into that guy as well. I kind of, but to be honest, I would like to see Koepka and Dustin Johnson and Patrick and some of these guys playing on the PGA Tour. It has diluted the field. There's no question about that. But I think the PGA Tour is going to be just fine without them. Emerging stars are coming up. The majors will be the majors. It adds a little bit of controversy. So, for golf in general, I don't think it's been, at first I thought, oh, this is terrible for golf, but it's really added a lot to the conversation. And it certainly has elevated the PGA.
A few weeks ago, we had the event, the Doral event, and it went up against the first live event, and there were no big names at Doral, but it was Chris Kirk against the unknown Bobby Cole, and they're going at it, and everyone's watching it, and it didn't matter. They weren't big name players. It was the little guy trying to defeat the guy who's trying to make a name for himself. And it was on the PGA Tour, and it was just as entertaining as having the big names going at it. In fact, it was probably more entertaining than the players, simply because Scheffler ran away from the field. But that's how golf is. So to me, live, talk, and go away and die. I don't care about it.
Interesting stuff. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back on the other side. TJ Reeves is going to join us, and we will chat with him about all things Buccaneer. We'll probably get into a little live golf situation as well. All kinds of cool stuff with our good friend TJ Reeves. So stay with us. Here for the Jeeves Law Group. Have you been injured in an accident, in an auto accident, truck accident, motorcycle accident, at work, or at a place of business? Well, call the Jeeves Law Group and get the personal attention that you deserve. I made the mistake many, many years ago with going with one of the bigger law firms, the national law firms. And let me tell you, getting a call back from those folks was next to impossible. Weeks and weeks would go by. never get a call back. That doesn't happen with the Jeeves Law Group. Personal attention is what they're all about. When you call the Jeeves Law Group, you will be part of the family. They will represent you in a vigorous and aggressive way against the insurance companies. These larger companies will promise bigger settlements, but it's the Jeeves Law Group that will get you the best results. If you're tired of dealing with these bigger law firms, check out the Jeeves Law Group. Go to jeeveslawgroup.com, tell them JP sent you, get a free consultation. It's the Jeeves Law Group. Scott Jeeves has been representing clients in the Tampa Bay area for over 25 years. Give them a call. It's a free call, 727-894-2929, 727-894-2929, or go to jeeveslawgroup.com. Hey guys, JP here for the Gold and Diamond Source. There is no better place to shop for jewelry than the Gold and Diamond Source. We know that. They are the family jewelers, and they will treat you like family. It's always a fun experience. Just head on over there. You will not find a better selection anywhere in the world. It's a jewelry super center. They've got engagement rings, necklaces, earrings, pendants, chains, and thousands of diamonds to choose from. They're all right there. You don't have to ship anything in. They have jewelry for every price range as well. Guys, if you're looking for some of those baller watches, they have a great selection. They have new and used. You can get some great collectibles there as well. And if you're looking for some more affordable gold and diamond jewelry, you have to check out the Emily collection from Emily Johnson Weintraub. Emily created this collection for people who want to wear and stack elaborate jewelry but don't want to pay the big ticket prices. You got to check this stuff out. The Gold and Diamond Source has plenty of options to accommodate any budget, interest-free financing for up to 5 years, and a layaway program, 20% down and only 6 monthly payments. And this month only, get up to 15% off the March birthstone, which is aquamarine. Like we always say, keep it local, folks. The Gold and Diamond Source, Julie and Steve Weintraub, such great philanthropic benefactors. So let's keep it all local here when we have the opportunity, right? It's the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Olmerton Road, always online at thegoldendiamondsource.com. Ladies and gentlemen, are you looking to lose weight or just lean up for bathing suit season where there are so many diets and chiropractors and weight loss clinics out there? You don't know where to start, right? We'll start at Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Chris Lugo, PA, and his professional staff will devise a personal plan for you that gets results and will help you keep the weight off. Everybody metabolizes food and supplements differently. Many of these other approaches are designed for the masses. So how's that going to work for you specifically? It's not. Chris will spend one-on-one time with you to find out what works best for you so the weight comes off safely without the use of harmful drugs and side effects. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling. 844-977-3477 or BAMMC.com. Insurance coverage can be confusing and expensive. I mean, where do you start? Which companies can you count on to pay out fast and fair? Well, call the great folks at Italiano Insurance. It's a family-owned business. Jeff and Nat Italiano carrying on the 60-year-plus tradition of giving amazing customer service and giving back to the community through their annual backpack drive for needy students and their support of the local pediatric cancer patients. But it's the customer service that sets them apart. They can shop all your insurance needs and save you big-time money. Don't hop on the internet and waste time looking at some bogus reviews. Talk to knowledgeable agents and not some voice-generated robot. These are confusing times for homeowners, and Italiano's team of experienced professionals can provide the right coverage for every situation: home, auto, business, life. It's Italiano for all the pieces of your life. Call 813-877-7799 or go to italianoinsurance.com.
Pure Sports. JP is back on.
Welcome back.
FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. Paul Stewart joining us from across the pond. And now his good friend, TJ Rives, joining us. We got a bunch of old heads here talking Buccaneer football and all kinds of fun stuff. Golf will be, I'm sure, part of the whole deal. TJ, how are you, buddy?
Hey, it's great to be with you. And look, you're in good hands. You have been already. I mean, you should just know, JP, while I was prepping to come on here, I just got done doing college basketball for 45 minutes, and I got Paul Stewart blowing up my messenger with Top Gun references. So we're going off script here about Top Gun. We cover it all on FanStream, JP, whether it's the NCAA tournament, Buccaneer free agency, 80s and 90s movies, whatever you need, babe. I am here for you.
Well, let's go ahead and jump right in. Votes on, because this is rare. How can a sequel be better than the original? This one was pretty close. I got to tell you.
Okay. Now, you got to understand, I'm in your camp, but the man in England has been like on a one-man crusade to say that Top Gun, the sequel, is nowhere near as good as the first, and he might be ready to come over and fight.
Nowhere.
Because tell him why, Scoop. Tell him why. Tell him why.
Why?
It was crap.
What are you talking about?
Because it was all CGI garbage. They didn't do the real flying, and you could put an hour from the end of the film, you could pause it and predict everything that was going to happen. I'm sorry, I know I am. You described me, TJ, as the guy standing on the beach telling the tide to go back out. The original is iconic and the greatest film ever. The second one is total and utter crap. And I will die on this hill.
See what you walked into? This is what I deal with, JP, across the pond in England, with this man besmirching me about saying that Top Gun, the sequel, might be as good or better than the first. Yes. He just wants to leave the original alone because it didn't have computer effects. But still, it was amazing to enjoy.
They flew a lot of those planes in that movie.
They did some of it, yes.
They did some. They flew under the bridge. That was cool. That was. I mean, it was phenomenal. Yeah, there were parts of the plot line that were a little goofy, but if you go back and look at the original, there's parts of that plot line that you're like, okay, you know, you're cockpit to cockpit, giving them the international sign. No, there was silliness going on as well. Come on now,
you know, the bird, the finger. But anyway,
I know the
we got you, Goose. We know the finger, Goose. All right, so we've given you some on Top Gun. I don't think you just have me on here for 80s and 90s movies. Well, I know you boys have been, you guys have been kicking around Buccaneer free agency. Please, somebody reassure me. JP, Paul Stewart, is Levante David, that's one of my guys. Levante David, I want to see him back in Buccaneer colors, and I'm seeing all this rumor to Buffalo stuff. I haven't been able to keep up with this in the last hour and a half. Levante has not signed with anybody, right? So 54 could still come back to the Bucs, right?
I thought he was going to Miami, but they signed David Long Jr. there, so that kind of was like, oh, okay. So I thought he was going home to Miami. He lives in Miami, so I thought that was a possibility. But I don't know. Look, for my money, I would trade Devin White. And I know this isn't going to happen. I love Devin to death, but I think his representation believes that he's a $20 million a year guy. I don't believe he is. I think we could spend that money in better areas, as much as I love him. But if Levante David leaves, you got to have somebody in there, right? You got to have somebody in there. And Devin brings value. He's, he has, but if you're going to pay elite money at that position, he better be elite in every category. And he's not. He's just not. So, I would like to see Levante David stay and maybe draft someone with the picks that you could get for Devin White. That's just me. I don't know. How do you guys feel about that?
Again, you got to have somebody, and he is a sideline to sideline tackler, but there's questions about pass coverage for Devin White. Obviously, he knows this. There's questions about him fighting off blocks, and how good is he going to be without Levante David there with him, Paul Stewart, if Levante is not there. I love Scoop's historical perspective. I hope it's not past tense, but where does Levante rank? You've done shows and podcasts about this and put this on your site. Where does he rank among Buccaneer linebackers? Brooks is obviously the Hall of Fame standard, but is Levante not in that category? Does he not belong at least in the neighborhood with a Derek Brooks?
We had him at number 4 when we did that countdown. Now, to me, when I look at free agency guys, NFL players want 2 things. They want a ring and they want to get paid. Once you've got the ring, you want the money. When you've got the money, you want the ring. Now, in Levante's case, he's got both. So now it's down to him what suits him. He's not going to get a huge, massive, multi-million contract from anyone because he's 12 seasons into his NFL career. It's on the way down. So, to be honest, like you say, if he lives in Miami, does he want the stay where I know I'm wanted and I know the the area, and it's not far from where I'm born and where I want to go back to? Or do I really want to go all the way across the country just to play somewhere else for the sake of an extra $1 million, which I don't really need? So I think if anywhere, it's probably more likely, if he's not going to go to the Dolphins, like you said, he's either going to come back to the Bucks. I don't really see a big contract anywhere else on his horizon.
Well, I think you're right on that. I talked about this before, and you guys can weigh in. There's, as much as I love John Lynch and Warren Sapp, and those guys are in the Hall of Fame. They are all-time Buccaneers. There's no question about that. There's just a little different feel to Derek Brooks and Rondé Barber, because they played their entire careers here. And,
right.
John's not by John's fault. The Bucs made a huge mistake when they let John Lynch go. That was a miscalculation by the medical department on his neck. And, Sapp was going to go chase the money. I get it. It is what it is. But, Rondé could have gone other places. Derek Brooks could have gone other places. They decided to stay. And I just think you have a little different view by the fans when you stay here your entire career.
I agree. And Levante agreed to a contract extension, a long-term extension, when he was on bad Buccaneer team after bad Buccaneer team. And he still believed in this place. And eventually it got him a Super Bowl. When Tom Brady and crew showed up, it got him a Super Bowl. And Paul brings up a very valid point. What are you chasing if you're going somewhere else?
Right.
As a free agent at this point, if you're not chasing the ring and you've made your money. So maybe he tests the market here and realizes it's not that much more money than what Tampa Bay is willing to give me, and he's willing to come back here. Let's hope they can figure that out and work that out. But it's a situation where it's up to him now. He's unrestricted. He can sign somewhere else, and let's see what happens with 54. But much love for that guy. Absolutely. Forever.
All right, Paul, I'm sure you two cooked up some stuff, so we have 5 minutes left. I'm just going to look forward to you two. You crazy.
Do you really want to turn him loose with me?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. What else, Scoop?
All
What
I can
else?
say is, we've been talking today about the Valspar Championship, and the golfing world is focused on Tampa this week, and quite rightly so. But something you're probably not aware of, JP, is 5 years ago.
Time out. I got to get a tee right here. We just had breaking news.
Oh, don't tell me.
Paul's favorite player, Baker Mayfield, $8 million to the Bucs. It's official according to Nick Geddes. I don't know where he got it, but
wow.
Baker Mayfield. I'm going to check Twitter right now.
It's a 1-year deal. It's a 1-year guaranteed $8 million or up to $8 million. That would be another important part of this if it is Baker Mayfield as part of the mix on this as the former number 1 pick. I can't believe it's straight up $8 million guaranteed, if that's the case. And I'm looking while you're looking at the same time before we get into the golf and sign off.
We can quibble about the contract, but he's here. So how does that fit in, boys? How do you like it?
I see it. The contract is a 1-year deal worth up to $8.5 million. Adam Schefter reporting that, and I was just looking. Somebody else has it too. And that's, again, there's going to be a lot of conversation about, does that hand him the starting job, or is it a competition with Kyle Trask?
I think it's
again, he went to Los Angeles with the understanding that you may have a chance to play, you may not. They then ended up having to play him because of injury late in the year. He was in Carolina where he had the starting job and lost it and was on the bench and asked to be released. So this is now team number 4 for him. Scoop, quick reaction across the pond on Baker Mayfield?
I'm going off to watch Top Gun Maverick. It's more entertaining.
He's not a Baker fan. Not a Baker fan.
But this is an interesting, just from this standpoint, competition thing. And I don't think this is being handed to him. I think it is compete for the job here with Kyle Trask. That is fascinating. And it would not surprise me, again, I don't have it in front of me, if this is a low guarantee of like $2, $3, $4 million, the 7, 8, $8.5 million is tied into incentives. Does the team make the playoffs? Does the team make the NFC Championship game? Things like that.
I think it's
very interesting.
I think it's a good fit because Dave Canales is bringing this, Los Angeles Rams, Sean McVay hybrid offense here, and Baker can run that. He's good throwing on the run. He can do the RPOs. He can do all those things that, frankly, Brady could not. It's going to make the running game better. and it's going to get Kyle Trask is not going to be handed anything. Competition makes everyone better. Iron sharpens iron. I think he's been humbled. I don't think we're getting the bombastic Baker Mayfield. If for what's out there, he's got some upside to him. From an entertainment standpoint, he's going to be a good interview. I'm okay with it.
Well, again, former number 1 overall pick, former Heisman Trophy winner.
Yep.
But Cleveland couldn't get rid of him fast enough. Carolina saw him, and they had a season that was going sideways anyway, and fired Matt Rule. And Carolina said no thanks. And then he goes to the Rams. This is team number 4 for him already. And nothing. I emphasize one more time. I don't think anything is just going to be handed to him here in this situation as the first blush reaction. It's go win the job. And let's see what happens in this training camp, guys.
All right, we got a minute left. Paul, how would you like to sign off on this?
Well, the only thing I was going to say, we would just go back to the story. The story I was going to tell you was about 5 years ago, there was a huge golf tournament played in Tampa, and it took place at the Lake Jovita Golf Club and the Heritage Harbour Golf Club. And all I can say is just like the Ryder Cup, the Brits kicked the Americans' backside.
Yes. Paul loves to bring up that he was putting it on me. We might have to have a team competition with JP and me against you and somebody else you pick at some point down the road. And we got the Valspar this week that you guys are all over. We got the NCAA tournament in Orlando, and we got Buccaneer free agency news to keep us going. We got a bunch, JP, so it's a pleasure to have been on with you.
Thanks, guys.
And just like the Great Britain baseball team, I will have a cup of tea like they did their celebration of the World Baseball Classic.
Oh, cup of tea for you.
All right, guys. Hey, thank you both for coming on. Appreciate it. We'll catch up with you down the road. We'll have more on this tomorrow, obviously, on the JP Peterson Show.
You think?
We'll have a little bit of reaction. Twitter poll going up. Thank you, guys. Great job. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Be well, JP.
Go Bolts. Tour is back. The Valspar Championship returns to Innisbrook March 16th